Hey guys, so as you all know, I've been taking a DBT class, which is Dialectical-Behavioural Therapy, and I said I would make some videos to share some of the skills I've learned with you because I think they could help a lot of people. So each class has been about 2 hours long, and I'm going to guess you don't want to be staring at my face for 2 hours straight. So I'm going to break it down into smaller skills, and hopefully that'll make watching the videos a little more bearable for all of you. So for this video, I'm not going to go over any skills. I'm just going to tell you a bit about what DBT is, and then overview a few elements of the first skill I'll be teaching you, which is mindfulness. So I'll just tell you what it is, why we use it, and I'll give you a bit of an outline of the wise mind model that's used. And so hopefully with all that, you'll get a good idea of what to kind of expect with these videos and understand why you'll be learning the things you learn. So I hope you enjoy. Thanks. Okay, so DBT, which is Dialectical Behavioral Therapy, was developed by Marsha Linehan to help treat individuals who suffer from borderline personality disorder or really any kind of emotional dysregulation. But nowadays it's being used to treat a variety of mental illnesses such as bipolar disorder, substance abuse, depression, anxiety, really anything. And it can also be useful for people who don't suffer from mental illness in dealing with stress, time management, problem solving, focus. It can apply to a lot of different places. So DBT helps individuals learn better coping strategies when it comes to dealing with distressing emotions and circumstances in their lives, as well as helping to improve interpersonal connections. Now, dialectics is based on the theory that opposites can coexist, and the two opposites we deal with here are acceptance and change. So DBT is based on four major skill groups: the accept skills, which are mindfulness and distress tolerance, and then the change skills, which are emotional regulation and interpersonal effectiveness. And we'll be talking about all four of those in great detail, so I hope you're excited. Alright, so I'm just going to give you a bit of an overview of what mindfulness is. So in the shortest terms possible, I guess, mindfulness would be a set of skills that one can practice regularly to increase self-awareness and focus. Now, a lot of the time when people hear, oh, mindfulness, they picture meditation, and that would be clearing your mind, becoming at peace with oneself, envisioning a sunset, holding your hands above your knees and saying om, like that whole kind of deal. And that is not necessarily mindfulness. I know that is a thing that can really benefit a lot of people, and that's great. That's great that that works for them. But I also know that that can be a thing that is a really big turnoff to a lot of people. So this is kind of a disclaimer, just saying, no, mindfulness is not actually necessarily the same thing as meditation. So in the DBT sense, mindfulness is being aware in the moment of yourself and your surroundings. So that would mean paying attention to your thoughts, so noticing what's running through your head, just really honing in on what's going on there. Noticing your emotions, putting a name to them is a really key part here. So you want to say, oh, I'm feeling bored right now, or I notice I'm feeling a little irritated. Just kind of filing all of that away and knowing what exactly is going on within your body. Then your body sensations is a big one too. So saying, okay, I am feeling a little bit thirsty, or I'm in pain right now, I'm feeling sick, I'm really, really hot, I'm really cold, I'm hungry, I'm tired. That really serves just to like check in with yourself, notice what's going on in terms of what your body is physically feeling, and then you want to notice your actions. So that could be anything from, oh, I am standing in a really strange star shape like this lady. Or that could be, I am washing the dishes right now, I'm riding my bike. Just being kind of present in whatever action you're doing is one of the, I guess I would say a key part, but really all of the parts of mindfulness are key, so let's just leave it at that. You also want to be aware of your environment. So what activities are going on around you, just anything that's going on around you, really. What you see using the five senses. So see, hear, touch, taste, smell. So an example here would be if you are at a fireworks display. You'd notice the colors of the fireworks, the loud initial boom and then the crackling that kind of follows that, how bright they are, how cold the air is outside, like the night air, the smoky smell that lingers, just really being present in that action or in your environment, I guess, in what's going on around you. Another way you can do this would be paying attention to what's on your desk. So you're working, you're like, hey, I have a lamp on my desk and it's green. There is a band or a ball of rubber bands. It's green and purple. It feels not very heavy, it bounces, and then I have a new eraser, it's unblemished. Yeah, just really taking in your environment and knowing what's around you. That is basically being present in the moment and being aware, which is the first part of mindfulness. So the second piece, also key, is not judging. Now, that can be a hard thing for us to do because we are naturally inclined to judge. It's what we do. And most of the time, it's really not a big deal. So you taste something and you're like, oh, that's gross. That's a judgment. You go shopping. I like this shirt. I don't like this shirt. Those are also judgments. We all do it. It's okay. But the point here is you want to look at a situation now without judging it. So my favorite example of that would be, for sure, driving. Driving is a good one. So in this picture here, you'd see the car. Imagine that you are following right behind that car. And a few minutes before, he cut you off in a dangerous way. So the judgmental and the way basically we'd all probably respond to that would be, oh, what a jerk, what a moron, like, why are you on the road? You shouldn't be driving, you don't know what you're doing. All those thoughts would start spiraling around. But if we were to take it in a non-judgmental way, what we'd want to do is really look at the facts, the non-disputable facts. So you'd say, okay, this car came up from behind me. That is a fact. This car was speeding. It's going faster than I was going. That's a fact. The car did not put its indicator on. That's a fact. The car swerved into my lane. That's a fact. And the car sped off into the distance. That's also a fact. That is undisputable. If someone were to watch a video of what had just happened, they couldn't argue that because that is what happened. Those are the facts. And then the point of doing that is to kind of key into your rational mind. So a lot of the time when events like this happen or anything else that's annoying or distressing, the emotional mind will tend to spiral up and flare up and take control over the situation. But if you stick to the facts and try and remove all emotion and judgment from it, you will be able to problem solve better, you'll be able to handle the situation, you'll be able to see clearly what's happening instead of what you perceive to be happening. And it can just really, really benefit you in terms of moving on, moving past something. You'd say, okay, this happened, that's it. It happened, it's over, we move on. So yeah, and then the last part of mindfulness here is not automatic or not being on autopilot. So I know a lot of people will often say, oh yeah, I left work, I drove home, and I don't know how I got here. I don't remember turning on this road. I don't remember any of it. And that's because our brains don't tend to like to focus on one thing at a time. It likes to wander, it likes to think about other things. That's just what happens. So this part here, you really want to focus on being present and not doing things on autopilot. I find a thing that this really helps me with personally is keeping track of things. I am totally notorious for losing my keys, my wallet, my phone. They're always lost. I drop the keys somewhere, my phone is in my bed, I forget about it. And not being on autopilot can really help resolve that. So if I've got my keys in my hand and I need to put them down, I intentionally will think, okay, I am placing my keys on the coffee table beside the couch. Takes 2 minutes, not even 2 seconds probably, and it will save you 20 minutes of searching when you need to go out again. So yeah, that's one of the big things that being aware and present and not automatic can help with. And now a way to practice it that I find works for me is while I'm driving, I will just like nonstop chatter about everything I see. So be like, oh, there's a bird over there, the sky is blue, that green car is turning left, the light is red. That house has pink flowers in front of it, there's a store here, the sign is bright, whatever. Just nonstop chatter out loud about everything I see. And it will feel silly. It really, really, really feels silly. And you will feel silly if you do it too. I'd recommend not doing it around other people. This is, for me, strictly a by myself in the car thing. Because I know if my mother were around, she would be like, oh yeah, at least the sky is blue. Like, what's going on here? And then if you don't drive, you can totally do this on a walk. I'd recommend doing it silently, not out loud. And I know I recognize that's harder because your brain will wander easily if you're not speaking out loud, but that can also work. You can also lie on your bed, set a timer for 2 minutes, and just list all of the things that you see in your room or everything you notice. That's also a way to practice, and yeah, it just will totally contribute to being more aware of what's going on. So to summarize, I guess mindfulness is paying attention on purpose intentionally, paying attention to the present moment, so not lingering in the past or the future, just really focusing on what is going on right this exact second. And then paying attention in a non-judgmental way, so really just looking at the facts, non-disputable facts, just what's going on right in this moment. So you've learned why mindfulness is a useful thing for people when we're learning to cope with different things, but the main reason why we use mindfulness in DBT, so when I say that, I mean for its original intended purpose for people with borderline personality disorder, or any other form of emotional dysregulation, and this would totally apply to any other form of mental illness, it's because we tend to react automatically without thinking about the consequences when we're in the face of distress or any bad situation. So when we do that, we can really get into the habit of using maladaptive coping strategies to deal with whatever it is that's going on. So some examples of that would be any self-injury, cutting, burning, taking overdoses, manipulating others, which is something we really don't realize we're doing a lot of the time, under overeating, relying on drugs and alcohol, depending on physical exercise, sleeping too much, or using sleeping as like a coping mechanism instead of dealing with the issue at hand, or focusing on an illness or physical pain rather than what's really going on. So when we use these self-destructive coping behaviors, we often get caught up in a cycle of thinking we're bad for doing them. And this can really build up into a vicious cycle for a lot of people. So they'll kind of go, okay, I feel bad right now. And then they do bad stuff. So like the maladaptive coping strategy. And then when they do that, they think, oh, I must be bad. I am really bad. And those thoughts can transfer right back into feeling bad. So this can be a really hard cycle for people to get out of, which is why we need to use mindfulness to handle situations instead of just letting our emotions get carried away. So DBT really uses the concept of a wise mind. That's like one of the big foundations of DBT. So that is based on the idea that you've got an emotional mind and a reasonable mind, and then wise mind is kind of the middle of the Venn diagram, like where they merge together. So some characteristics of a reasonable mind, you like to think of it as, what did they say, Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. That's reasonable mind. So it's really intellectual, it's scientific, it's logical and rational thinking. You think based on facts and evidence. You're able to plan how you respond to certain things. Your attention is really, really focused on what's going on in that moment. You've got a cool kind of demeanor when you're approaching a problem. And like, you think based on what should I do? What would be the right thing to do? Now, if you flip over to your emotion mind, it's Miss Piggy from the Muppets. that is the best descriptor I've got for that one. So your thinking and behavior are really controlled by your emotional state. Oftentimes your thoughts will be really unhelpful or like distressing. They're just adding to whatever it is that's going on, and they're not helping. It's really difficult to think logically and rationally. The facts you have or like that you think you have are kind of distorted to fit in with the current distress. So it's kind of what you think is happening versus what's really happening. And then with that, strong emotions can drive strong behavior or really irrational behavior. And instead of the what should I do, like what would be the right thing to do, emotion mind is based on what do I want to do? What do I feel like I want to do? So neither of those really are a state of mind you want to live in constantly. It's good to have a happy medium between the two. And so that's what wise mind would be. So it integrates your emotion mind and reasonable mind. So it would add intuitive knowledge to emotional distress and logical analysis. So you would recognize that you're in distress, that you're feeling certain things, but some logic would come in and you'd be able to understand kind of what led up to that, what's going on, like just the logical side to that. Wise mind can be the calm that follows a storm. So emotion mind takes over. Reasonable mind is like, no, wait, chill out. This is what's actually going on. And then once that happens, everything can calm down. And that's when you're in wise mind. So you can see and know something directly and clearly. It ensures the needs of both the emotion mind and the reasonable mind are met. So the reasonable mind is probably right. It's correct in thinking whatever it's thinking, but the emotion mind also needs to be soothed. So when you get both of those factors in, you make for a happy, wise mind. And then instead of the what I want to do and what should I do question, you've got what's the most appropriate and effective skill that I can use for this situation. So yeah, I hope that one makes sense too. So I'm not going to give you actual homework because nobody wants that. You're all busy. I get that for sure. But in preparation for like the actual skills videos I'm going to be making, I would love if you guys would practice that thing I talked about earlier with like babbling nonstop about things you see. And so if you would like, this would probably be the easiest way to like make sure you do it. Just set aside a couple minutes and like type on your phone just everything you're seeing, send it to me. That would be great. I would love to see that happen. Yeah, practice that in your cars, practice it in your bedroom, just whenever you have a minute, like literally just a minute or two is fine. Yeah, give it a whirl and let me know what you think. And yeah, also if you have questions, comments, whatever, just want to say hi, anything, message me, send me a text, whatever you want, really, that'd be great. I'd love to hear from you. So yeah, that's it for now, and I will be back with mindfulness skills soon, hopefully. Yeah, take care.